All right, guys, how's it going? Now, before I get into this video, I just want to thank those of you that took the time to comment on my last video and to thumbs up the video or thumbs down. It's the same as a thumbs up. Can you believe that? It's classed as one view, one engagement. And that went out of your way just to drop me a comment. Now, it's been very quiet around here recently, since the transfer window closed. And when I see like little interaction on the channel, I just think, oh, maybe people aren't bothered at the moment, so there's nothing there to motivate me to make videos. It's the truth. It's just how it is. And also YouTube, if my existing subscribers are not interacting, then what they do is they say, oh, it can't be much interest at the moment, so they don't push it to new people. So if you enjoy my content and you want to see me churn out, more and more videos, and not just like one video like yesterday, then it's really important that you meet me halfway. All right, so I'm really, really grateful for those of you that did that yesterday. You did step up. I know some of you are watching on Fire Sticks or maybe Xboxes or consoles that make it difficult to comment. I get that, but it's just nice to hear from you every now and then. And like I say, it's just been a bit quiet recently, so I was like, well, fuck it then, I'll go to the pub. But you did interact with me on that video yesterday, so here I am. I'm not sulking today. Right, I saw an article in AS this morning. I went to the cafe, reviewed the Spanish football dailies for you. I'm always, I review them looking for stuff to do with Liverpool. Obviously, that's the main reason, right? And obviously at the moment, the main thing to look for is stuff to do with Konaté, and Konaté does get a mention today. First time in a while, I think, maybe a couple of weeks. So we're going to go over that. It's interesting, I think, and I will explain why. So it was in AS actually, which it's actually pronounced different to that. But whenever I pronounce it as it's supposed to be pronounced, YouTube think I'm talking about a particular part of the body. So I call it AS, and basically they have an article today which says Real Madrid are still monitoring William Saliba at Arsenal, but also keeping an eye on Liverpool's Konaté, which we know. The difference is, they describe Saliba as the more attractive sporting option, while Konaté convinces less in sporting terms. But because his contract is up in June, he's still on Madrid's list as a possible free transfer. Now, where does it get interesting, right? Well, Marca, right? Think Marca, especially José Félix Díaz, right? He's the main man to do with Real Madrid, right? Think Paul Joyce and Liverpool Football Club. So Marca, especially José Félix Díaz, has been pushing the line that Konaté to Real Madrid is very advanced. However, he didn't write that. He hasn't written that in the print edition, but he said it in a like an online live stream, basically, right? But Marca are basically suggesting that Konaté is going to go to Real Madrid. And that he's a priority for the Spanish Giants, almost like they're preparing the ground for him as being the big defensive signing next year, right? So Marca very pro Konaté, they really want him, it's going to happen kind of attitude, right? Now AS on the other hand, right, which is the other Madrid publication, but isn't as close to Real Madrid as Marca, and certainly the journalist that wrote this article is nowhere near Perez like José Félix Díaz is. Well, AS on the other hand, they've downplayed it a little bit today. They frame Saliba as the top target, younger, fits Madrid's sporting project better, but expensive. Then they slip Konaté in at the end of the article with that killer phrase, convinces less in sporting terms. Translation, he's not seen as the perfect fit, but because he's free in 2026, he's worth keeping on the radar. This is almost identical reporting as to what happened with Trent Alexander-Arnold last year. Not perfect, not defensively elite, but financially irresistible as a free signing. So why the contradiction? So José Félix Díaz is Perez's guy, right? The closest journo to the Madrid president. When he says very advanced, it carries weight, but it's also club messaging. And we talk a lot about club messaging on here when we break articles down, right? His job is to push the idea when Madrid want it pushed, right? Club messaging. Now, Manu de Juan, the AS journalist who wrote the article that I read today, doesn't have that level of access. He is a respected, AS reporter who covers Madrid but he doesn't get the inside briefings from Perez's circle. His angle tends to be more sober, focused on options and possibilities, less on pushing a narrative. So who do you trust? Who do you go with? Is José Félix Díaz, is it, that club messaging? Should we believe that? Or should we be more cautious and listen to AS a little bit? This is like what I'm thinking in my mind. I'm thinking, is this as nailed on as Konaté thinks? Do you know what I mean? All right. It's unusual, I think, for those two newspapers to contradict each other. So if you believe Perez wants the story out there, right? If you believe that Perez wants to manipulate the press, they want the story out there for whatever reasons, then Marca and José Félix Díaz are the ones to watch, right? We know that, right? But if you want a reality check on how strong the interest really is, AS often gives a more measured version. So what I'll say from that is it does feel a bit like the Trent situation. The reporting was the same, wasn't it? They wanted the lad at Tottenham, didn't they? They were like, well, Trent's not the best defender in the world. There are other options, but it would be expensive, so we'll have to go for Trent. And it sounds identical with the Konaté situation. And it just makes you wonder if there is that boardroom, split a little bit. Yeah, he's free, but maybe we should be looking at whoever. Now, these things do affect us, right? This affects Liverpool and our planning, right? Because if Liverpool see a weakness there, and maybe the situation isn't as advanced as maybe José Félix Díaz is portraying, albeit not in Marca, but in personal, in more laid-back environments, maybe there is an option, for Liverpool to keep pushing to try and to get him to sign a contract, which they will be doing anyway. But, maybe, Konaté, he might get a bit squeaky bum because Konaté is going to know about this today, right? And his representatives, they're going to be saying, oh, there was an article saying maybe, that there might be another option. So if you're the player, you've then got to consider this, right? Like, how far are you distancing yourself from Liverpool? No, I'm off. See you later. Could it come back and bite you in the arse at some point? I do think it's important, guys. I really do think this is interesting today. And the fact that they're literally saying Konaté convinces less in sporting terms suggests that within Madrid circles, not everyone sees him as the slam dunk that Marca is selling. That's key. And again, not everyone could be the board. Perez saying, well, financially this is the right, yeah, but he's better. Florentino, he's interesting. Anyway, so that is in a nutshell what it's about. I'm going to look at the full article now. If you want to hang around, I'll go through it with you. But what I can tell you is that summary there, in a nutshell, is Marca is saying, it looks almost certain to happen. José Félix Díaz is alluding to that with his very advanced, I think very advanced, he's saying informally on live streams, with friends. I think it's very advanced. You can't, I think, when you're putting it in print in Marca. So he's not done that. But Marca has been, pushing the Konaté will happen narrative. But now their rival newspaper, if you like, also in Madrid, is saying they're still like Saliba. So someone somewhere within Real Madrid must be saying that, in my opinion. So that's basically it. And the one thing that you need to just, before you stop watching, if you're not going to listen to the full translation, is the key bit in the article was Konaté convinces less in sporting terms, right? I think that is a little bit, quite interesting that they said that. And like I said, they did say this with Trent. So I'm going to go over the full article for those of you that like to, get every little bit of detail so that you can, form your own assessment. I might not read it word for word, but let's skip through it. I've got it here in front of me. It was headlined Option Saliba. Real Madrid keep a close eye on the Frenchman whose contract with Arsenal expires in 2027. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Marca's last touch on this was that they do like Saliba, they'd liked him for a long time, but they need defenders next year, right? Next year. And that would mean having to wait another year for him if they were going to get him on a free in 2027. Therefore, he would cost money in 2026, all right? So Let's have a look. Real Madrid focused their efforts in the last transfer window on defence. 3 of the 4 signings, Trent, Carreras and Huijsen, were defenders, costing 118 million out of the 181.2 million invested, right? 65%, that's euros, of course. 2 fullbacks, 1 for each flank and 1 centre-back. But at Madrid, they know the work is far from finished. And in the summer of 2026, it will be time to make more adjustments in that area of the squad, as Rafa Benitez would say, squad, for sure. Especially regarding the central defenders. Several names are noted in the club's agenda, and one of them, probably the strongest in purely sporting terms, which obviously means ability, is William Saliba. The French centre-back from Arsenal fits the profile of Madrid's transfer policy, young, 24, and experienced at the highest level. Already last summer, it was reported that he was one of the options Madrid were considering to reinforce the squad. That's true. Although they eventually opted for Huijsen. The Spanish international had a set price, 58 million euros to take him from Bournemouth. Whereas to go after Saliba meant negotiating with Arsenal, with the cost expected to be extremely high. Transfer market valued him at 80 million euros. It didn't happen in the summer of 2025, but Madrid is still watching him closely, knowing that next summer they will almost certainly need to sign another centre-back. Huijsen is a key part of the project, and Asensio is just renewed, although he's got some massive legal issues in Spain at the moment. I don't know if you're aware of them, but he's basically up in court at the moment. I think they've just arranged, I think I posted about this on the member site today, what's called an oral trial at the moment, or it's at that stage where he's basically accused with some other players of allegedly distributing inappropriate videos of women, right? So basically, I'm not sure, you should do your own research on this, but basically broke the law, filmed people and distributed it, and obviously then people were not cooking dinner, they were cooking something else, right? And one of those people who was in those videos, which are obviously sexual or whatever, was a minor, therefore under the age of, consent or whatever. So he's currently got that going on. And the Madrid press have not been very kind to Asensio recently. Okay, I'm just throwing that in there just in case you're not aware. So Huijsen is a key part of the project. Asensio's just renewed, but the rest of the centre-backs bring doubts. Militao, the least concerning, he's suffered 2 cruciate ligament injuries, ruptures, 1 in each knee, in just over a year, but has returned at a high level, and Madrid trust he can stay fit for the season. Then there's Alaba, he's 33, Rudiger, he's 32. Both have contracts expiring in June 2026 and have struggled with constant injuries. So the possibility of them leaving for free is very real, especially in the case of the Austrian, and we'll see about the German. If both leave, Madrid would be left with 3 centre-backs, right? So they've got Huijsen, Militao and Asensio, plus potentially call-ups from the academy to fill in. And from what I understand, there's 3 or 4 really good centre-backs coming through the ranks at Real Madrid. What they mention here, they say, in this respect, Joan Martinez, the top centre-back prospect at Valdebebas, and Diego Aguado are leading the way. But at the club, they're considering all scenarios, and 2 names stand out on their list to reinforce the defence. One is Saliba. His contract situation is important. He's tied to Arsenal until 2027 and has not renewed yet. Fabrizio Romano, Mo Salah! Not everyone knows why we still shout that. You can ask in the comment section. Please help them in the comment section. Who already reported on Madrid's interest, says the London club has responded by raising their renewal offer. If he renews, that's that. But if he doesn't, he could enter summer 2026 with only 1 year left on his deal, forcing Arsenal to consider a sale rather than this losing him for free. That's Madrid's opportunity. And at the same time, they are also monitoring the situation of Konaté. The Frenchman from Liverpool is older. He's 26. But he has a certain advantage. His contract ends in June, and he could arrive for free. Saliba is preferred. There's the statement. But both are on Madrid's list. In Madrid, the transfer market never sleeps. Now, this is exactly what they said about Trent. They said he's not the preferred option, but they did sign him because of the market situation, right? So let me I just want to there was two what are called pull quotes in the article. So you know, you get like a full page. They have these things called pull quotes where there's like, which like a pull quote is a quote from the article. So you on a page, think about it, you have the picture, you have the headline, the intro, the text, and then they have what's called like pull quotes. They're just like in little boxes, you know what I mean, don't you? One of them said, contract, the English club raised their offer aware of Madrid's interest, that is Saliba. And the other one, standout one, was, Konaté convinces less in sporting terms, but would be free in just 1 year. So they're emphasising those two points. And that, my friends, is about it in a nutshell, really. I hope I've made sense with it. I think if Marca was saying it, I would definitely be thinking, ooh, something might change here with Real Madrid's interest in Konaté. I think AS are just saying, no, you know, I think someone at Real Madrid has basically said to that journalist, look, you know, we are looking at Konaté, but Saliba, he would be, you know, the sporting, what was it that had the best sporting qualities, Rafa, here for sure. You know what I mean? Like, I know what I mean. I'm sure you know what I mean. I reckon someone's just been saying that and the journalist has gone, well, they do like him, but Konaté is for free. And it's exactly what happened with Trent. Now, I don't know about you, and you're allowed to change your opinions, but I still think Konaté is going to go to Real Madrid on a free transfer. I will keep an eye on this for you. I check these Spanish dailies every single day to get these little snippets for you. And that's the first slightly negative suggestion that maybe Konaté isn't nailed on, but it's the lesser of the two publications that I would pay attention to, if that makes sense. But still a very good journalist. So someone has said something to him. It's not, you know, just some sort of made up shite, in my opinion. All right, guys, I'll leave it with you. If you found the video remotely interesting, please thumbs up the video. Please drop me a comment. There is a love out under the video if you want to support me. It's called a super thanks. It's like buying me a beer or a coffee. Basically, it goes in the kitty, and I get that once a month to help me bring all of this to you. And to pay for subscriptions. You know, I pay for these 4 subscriptions to these papers, you know, so stuff like that. Shout out to my channel members as well, the people with the football next to the name. They are absolute heroes around here. If you see them in the comments, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Anyone that uses a super thanks, I always give them a shout out the following day, the next time I do a morning briefing. The morning briefings, I've just published one actually, and it is on my other YouTube channel. I put the morning briefings on the other channel, the Duncan Oldham channel, the link of which is in the video description, and it will also pop on the screen around now as well. Okay, guys, I do have additional content coming up for you. Like I say, you know, you might not think it makes a difference, but a comment, a thumbs up, every now and then, just comment, let me know you're all right or whatever. It just shows that you're interested in the videos, you know. If you're not, I'll just fucking go and sunbathe out there for a bit. Do you know what I mean? Listen, you enjoy the weekend. Hopefully I'll be back with you soon, but if this is the only video you watch today, have a cracking weekend. Enjoy the Merseyside derby, and we'll see you soon. All right.